So when Mike got in touch with me and said, hey man, do you want to check out my brand new plugin? My answer was always going to be a profound yes. The reason being is because I'm a massive fan of Spiritbox. I'm a massive fan of Mike and the music and his guitar tones and how he views guitar tones in general, not just from like a heavy high gain perspective, but also from a more atmospheric ambient perspective. And the fact that he was releasing his own plugin, I was 100% sure that he would get everything that he wanted and all of that would be in the box, which I would be stoked for. If it wasn't obvious enough at this point, yes, this is a sponsored video, and as always, all thoughts and opinions are my own. So before we go through a walkthrough of the entire plugin from top to bottom, here's a little demo that I made using the plugin and my brand new Jackson Pro Plus Series Evertune 7-string gold sparkle guitar. That is a lot of words. So here it is, the Mixwave Spiritbox Mic Stringer plugin. Now I've made a couple presets and the main one is this high gain one that I've made called the D word, in brackets please pick hard. So it's exactly what you imagined, but before we go into the actual preset, I'll kind of give a quick overview of the plugin because there is a lot to get through. So starting up the top, you have your input knob as well as, you know, mono or stereo input, which is cool. A gate with a dedicated gate switch. You have a pitch shifter that goes from -12 to +12, so an octave lower or an octave higher. Inbuilt tuner. This is your signal chain, which we'll go over in a second. Preset manager up here, you can load your own presets, you can save presets, all that good stuff. Included BPM within the actual plugin itself, so I'm assuming that's just for standalone. If you don't want to run it through your DAW and you just want to run it on your computer and you want to have BPM control, you can do that. You can tap it, you can sync it. Oversampling controls, an output with a limiter, so you can kind of turn it up and not blast your ears. So going back to the signal chain, this is probably the coolest part of the plugin, but not for the reason you think. So going over these modules quickly, you have an overdrive, a ring mod pedal, which is super cool. Not a lot of plugins have that. Actually, I think this might be the first plugin I've ever seen to do that. We have a chorus, reverb, amp, cab, delay. The amp has 3 channels. Mike told me from himself that this is a Marshall sound, this is a 5150 sound, and this is a Soldano type sound. They're not one for one, but it's what they were based off, and that's what he told me directly, so I'm going to take his word for it. There's a cab section here with 4 different microphones you can choose from over 2 different speaker types. I shouldn't say 4 microphones, like 4 speakers that you can mic up, and you have so many microphones to choose from here. I think my head might spin if I read them all, so I'm going to just let you guys read all of that. You know, having that flexibility there is super cool, and these IRs sound really great. The actual controls for each microphone themselves is also cool. You've got obviously your access control, where it sits on the speaker, the distance, how far away it is. You've got an angle control, which not a lot of plugins have, and you have a delay control as well for each speaker individually with each microphone. Also have panning, level, and then you have this focus and contour as well. So this is actually really cool. Not a lot of plugins do this, and it's really nerdy. So basically you can set where the focus of the mid-range is, as well as the contour. The best part about all these modules is that if you haven't already figured it out, you can actually move these anywhere you want. So, you know, you'd never put an amp after a cabinet, but if that's something that you want to do, sure. The ring mod pedal you can put before your amp, between the amp and cab, after the cab. There's so many different combinations of what you can do with all these different modules. And within the actual modules themselves, like for example, the reverb, it's not just one reverb. There's room, hall, shimmer reverb. Same thing with delay. There's analog delay, digital delay, lo-fi delay, reverse delay. It's a stereo delay as well. You have those options there too. There's a lot of control. And speaking of control, the input and output processing. This is where it gets super nerdy. So if you're just looking to jam on this plugin, you're not too fussed, then this is probably a little bit boring to you. But if you're like me and you want to get super nerdy with your tone and how it hits the front of the amp and how it sounds after, this is basically an all-in-one in the box solution to get your DIs to hit the amp exactly the way you want. And after it hits the cab and you have the full tone, you can process it that way as well. And it also has a compressor in there for both output and input processing. They're separate. These are completely separate. And you can also change the order as well, which is, again, super nerdy. So if you want your DI to hit the compressor first and then go through the EQ, you can set it this way. If you want it to be the EQ and then the compressor, you can do it that way as well. I'm not going to give sound examples for every single one because we'd be here forever, but just for those that know, the flexibility in that is super, super cool. So this is what the tone sounds like on its own. So as you can tell, that is essentially mix ready out of the box, and this is the exact tone that you heard in the demo song. And again, I didn't really do anything. I just recorded, double tracked it, did very simple moves like low cut, high cut, all the typical moves that you do when you're mixing anything really, but I didn't do any boosting, no cutting, nothing, because everything was done within the plugin itself, which is awesome. Is this tone a little spiky in isolation? Sure, but when you put it in a full mix, and you'd be doing all that boosting anyway, it sits really, really nice. Just to give a little idea of what it sounds like without the input processing, because that is a huge part of this tone. So when it's off, sounds a little bit more rounder, definitely doesn't have as much definition. And when I'm using, this guitar, it's a 7-string tuned to drop G sharp or drop A flat. All those low notes and all those low frequencies can kind of make the amp not react the way that you want it to, which is why, by doing things like boosting around 2.3K and, cutting around that like low mid region around 0.3, I'm doing that very heavily there. But just to give an example of what it sounds like off versus what it sounds like on, you can probably tell just from that quick example that there's a lot more clarity when the equalizer is on, but this is a very specific use case, but it is cool to have it within the plugin itself. Another preset that I've made is called That's All Folks, and this was kind of meant to be a bit more spooky. We're using the clean channel, or like the Marshall channel. I've got a chorus pedal. It's going through 4 different microphones, I believe. Yep, 4 different speakers, 4 different microphones. I've got the delay, dual delay on the digital setting because I want it to be a little bit more fake. This isn't meant to be an organic amp tone, as you'll hear when I start playing it. And then we have the reverb. I'm using the room. I should mention with the delay, I'm not actually using it as like a standard delay. As you can see, I've got it both set on 1/32 notes, which practically means that it's happening so fast. It's almost like a slapback. Like it's not really a delay. For example, if I play, you can hear that there's no trails or anything. You don't really hear it. If I turn the wet knob up on the delay, you can tell it goes on for a little bit longer, but if I turn it back to where it was originally, it's a little bit more subtle. So it's kind of like adding a room effect, a very close room, almost like it was like reverberating off a wall next to you, as opposed to if I changed it and set it to like 1/8 on either side. That's like a more typical delay, but when it's this quick, it's kind of like a slapback. Moving on to Fallen Angel. Now this has pretty much every single effect on turned up to 10, apart from the ring mod. I'm doing it a little bit differently to kind of sculpt it the exact way that I want. Essentially, this is meant to sound nothing like a guitar. This is kind of meant to be reminiscent of those sound effects and extra layers that Spiritbox love putting in their breakdowns and in the background of their songs. So that's what you heard in the demo song in the middle before it cuts off and does the pitch shift. This is the preset that was used. So yeah, as you can tell, very stupid sounding, but it sounds cool in the background of breakdowns and stuff like that. So the last preset I'll show you guys is the bitey lead neck pickup preset. Now I've labeled neck pickup in brackets because I like a bitey tone for leads, but I don't typically use a neck pickup only because they kind of sound round. But with the input processing, I can kind of sculpt it so that it still gets that roundness, but it still has that like top end boost and that bite that can get out of it. So basically I'm mangling the DIs in the neck pickup, and I'm compressing it pretty heavily so that it kind of gets that same attack that I'm looking for out of a bridge pickup, which is super handy to have. But this is what it sounds like. So there you have it. That is the Mixwave Spiritbox mic stringer. Now, this was a very quick overview of the plugin, because if I was to sit here and go through every single thing individually and all its features, it would be an hour-long video. But you guys can try this out for yourself. Obviously, there'll be links in the description so you can have a go. And yeah, I really enjoy this plugin. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Mike. I'm a big fan of Spiritbox. So when he asked me to check this out, it was pretty much a no-brainer, because I knew that it would sound great and kind of get really close to that Spiritbox sound that's a little bit elusive. If you guys like this video at any time, please feel free to leave a like and a comment on anything you saw or heard. And if you want to see more of this stuff, definitely think about subscribing. If you guys want the tabs, stems, DIs, and all that good stuff to the demo song that you heard in the beginning of the video, definitely check out my Patreon, as well as all my affiliate links and every single way that you can support me directly. All of that will be in the description below. Massive thank you to Mike and Mixwave for letting me check this out early. Massive thank you to every single one of you guys for watching, and thank you to all my Patreons. Without you guys, content like this would not be possible. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you so much for watching. Ciao.